Hey there, folks. Andre the Game Idea Guy here, and this video has been something I've been thinking about doing for a little while. Um, and I was debating on how I was going to do it. If I was going to just record the audio and then throw some gameplay behind it for people to look at, or if I was actually just going to record myself directly and then post it from there. Obviously, I went with recording myself directly. So, within the last month and a half, I got an evaluation. Firstly, I want to say I restarted therapy, and that's so far going well. And I also got evaluated for ADHD and whatever other potential mental things I have going on. Um, I did get diagnosed for ADHD, as well as having a couple other things: general anxiety, uh, depression, adjustment disorder, which I never knew that was a thing, and there were a couple other things. I'm not going to go too deep into all of them, but I'm more so focused on the ADHD thing because I remember doing a video. I think it was roughly about 6 years ago. I did this video talking about how my mind worked, how I process things multiple times over at the same time, where I think in layers. And it was interesting to me to do that video because I remember so many other people, when I would check different TikToks and stuff that I got drawn into, and they were talking about ADHD and being neurodivergent. And I was like, yeah, a lot of this stuff applies to me. And I'm sitting here like, I'm not trying to self-diagnose. So, like, you never want to self-diagnose if you can highly avoid it. And it's best to go ahead and seek a professional to get a proper diagnosis, someone that would be familiar with the language and understand what the different situations are. And that was what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just assume anything, but I did note several times in that video. I think the title of it is "How the Brain of the Game Idea Guy Works." But I noted several times in that video, I think, that the way I process things and the way that I think about things seemed very much like ADHD. Well, after some time, having a chance to actually finally get myself evaluated and everything, I finally got a diagnosis, and I am currently on medications that help mitigate several of the symptoms of ADHD, as well as a couple of the other things that I have going on. So I didn't make this to seem like a gloomy type of video. It was just, I thought if I was going to do something like this after I had mulled over it a little bit, I would go back to how I used to do things, where it was just me and a camera at first, and I was just talking into it and saying whatever came to mind. So I figured I'd do the same thing here. Now it's more the process of me and a phone, but that's been a thing for a very long time with my channel. Um, so I try to think about how to describe it to people, like, and I've seen very many other people's descriptions of how it works, and that part of it works for me, part of it doesn't. And it's just like looking at how it plays out through my own perspective. And it's something I've wanted to talk more about because, again, I've already given like a general overview of it with the other video. But I've thought about it more, like, because of diving more and more into technology and diving more into that interest and learning more in that realm. I started to sit down and think. I was like, my mental operating is very much like a computer. Like, there are chunks of data or blocks of code that are being processed, and my mind rolls through them several different things at a time. Subconsciously, I'm thinking about a whole bunch of stuff, but consciously, I break things down into smaller bits and pieces as I'm analyzing them. So, like, you could have, like in a video game, you have a line of code that registers to jump. And my brain sees that line of code and places it where it's supposed to be, and then I'm able to jump. That's a horrible example, but that's how my brain is working things. Like the instructions hit, my brain goes through the instruction, then it operates the instruction. So it's like blocks of code being moved around, and that's how I make sense of things. I break them down into pieces and then build up from what I understand and what I know to complete the picture. And I've always thought that that was how the majority of people did it up until I started to suspect that I was a candidate for ADHD. Which tells me that all these times I've said that people have lacked common sense, I don't think in a common manner. That's the irony of it, and it's funny when I look back at it. But that also explains why I can go into such detail on some things, or I can be hyper focused on the thing and super into it, super interested in it, and then there are other things that just fall by the wayside for me, even though it might be something I want to do or something I'm attempting to do, but just like there are parameters in my brain that just won't get me from point A to point B. And that's what I'm hoping that the medications I'm taking now will help with. It does seem to be able to help me somewhat with my focus. The other part is the work that I have to do. There are habits I have to change and stuff like that, which that gets hard to do as you get older, because you, as people say, you become set in your ways. I'm someone who's always looking to learn and always looking to evolve their thinking, but even in that, there are habits. So I have to focus on changing certain habits, because there are things I've wanted to do with like my YouTube channel I haven't done with YouTube or any other social media platform. There are several things I've wanted to do, but I haven't done, mostly because every time I get ready to start them up, I find some sort of reason to not do them, and then they don't get done. So I'm hoping that this means that those things that I want to put the attention on, I want to put the energy into, I can finally do that. There are several things I'm working on at the same time. Some stuff I've been doing already for well over a year. Um, I'm not going to tell anybody about it until I feel right about the timing for it, but there is a catalog of things I am building up. There's also me writing my books. I did have the goal of getting 2 books out this year. I think the goal is going to be to finish the books this year, probably get them out next year. I think I was maybe a little bit overly ambitious, and the scope in which the stories I've started to write has exponentially blown up, because I keep thinking of new ideas or new ways I can fit other stuff in and ways I can create lore, and that starts to build upon itself. So I'm like, yeah, this might not be done by this year. I might even get one done this year, but I'm going to be working on them. If one does get done, it's probably going to be a book of short stories or something that is pared down so that I can get it written and I can get people to read it and go over it. And then I can go back and edit whatever I need to. So there is work being done. It's a little bit of a process for me, but there is work being done. It's just one of those things where I wanted to sit down and talk about it, because I know that like, this is a thing that everybody does, but me, I just wanted to, because I know my audience is interested, or at least the audience I have is interested. So yeah, I have been diagnosed with ADHD, and I am working on ways to utilize that technically to my advantage. So this is why I can come up with all these wild video game ideas, or I can sit down and I can look at something like, oh, this works that way. What if we did this, and we could add these 2 or 3 things, and I'm always processing that way. So it's just interesting to know I've been viewing the world in a much different way than the majority of the planet, And I had the goal to say that people need to use common sense. But I see the fun in it. I see the irony in it, and I'm starting to understand what many of my personal struggles were and how to deal with them now, so that's a positive that came out of this. It's one thing to understand why something is the way it is, and there's another thing to just know it's there and not have any reason for it. And for me, I'm a person who needs to understand reason. I need to know reason for things. Otherwise, I become. It's easy for me to get lost in something if I don't know the reason for it. And I prefer to know the reason because it makes it easier for me to comprehend and to understand. So you could ask me something innocuous like, "Hey, can you hand me that tablet there?" And the first thing that's going to go through my mind is, "Well, why do you need the tablet?" I don't even know why. It's just how I am. Well, probably because of being neurodivergent. So when you ask me for something, and it now some things obviously they're very self-explanatory. But if you ask me for something that belongs to me, generally I'm probably going to be like, "Well, why?" That I should have said it that way. If it was something that belongs to me, my first thought is why. And more likely to give it to you anyway if you're just using it for something quick. But normally, I just need a why as to what you want. Um, and I think that also played in. That was also part of my anxiety. But I do also just want to know the reason for things. It's just how I process the world. If I have a reason, I can understand the reason. It's easier for me to proceed. So it does open up some interesting things for me to be able to talk about, though. And it's not going to all be focused on having ADHD, but it's just knowing that how I process things makes sense as to why I view things the way I view them. I know that dryer went off. I know that for me, having ADHD was a life struggle after adulthood kicked in. As a kid, it kind of made it like, well, you have all this creativity, you have all this potential, you have all this passion, you have all these things you want to do, and you've got the energy to do them, so you go ahead and do them. But as you become an adult and responsibilities fall into place, and personal struggles and issues and all collide into that, it makes it harder. And at times you will sit down and think, well, how can I do this thing that I have been aching to do? How can I move forward with this thing I really want to do? And sometimes even you might actually have the answer, but you still stall out because your mind is still fighting against you in some way, shape, or form. And that's something I know I struggled with a bit. Like I said, there are several things I've wanted to do for my channel, and I know how to do them. I just haven't done them. And then there are a couple other things I really don't know how, and I would need someone to either teach me or to do them for me. Which both of those are going to be a little bit more complicated because it depends on one depends on how much time I have to be able to work with somebody to learn it, and the other requires money, which I'm not rolling in resources like that. Hopefully one day. Because if I get to that point one day, I would love to do that. But until then, I will look for the tools that I can that will allow me to leverage the creativity I can come up with. I have an ice machine behind me, so sorry you're going to keep hearing it. But I'm looking to do a number of things with my channel, and I have something I'm really looking forward to bringing back, or a character I really want to bring back, Whiny Gamer. I started that idea, that character, like within the first, I want to say the first 2 years I was on YouTube, and nothing ever came of it. And I've had so many thoughts and ideas on how to actually turn this character into a thing, but I do have one now that I think will really draw attention to it, and hopefully when people hear it or when they see it come out, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, that's what he was doing. I like this." If not, I don't know how far I'm going to push it, but I do want to incorporate the whiny gamer character into my channel. There are so many things that I could do with that I haven't, from a perspective of talking through different viewpoints and things like that, because again, I don't think that anyone's viewpoint should be completely disregarded or anything like that, but it's more about having a balance of things. And also, it's interesting to me to always think outside of myself, and whiny gamer would be a way to do that, which is something I'm planning to do. It's just every time I try to focus on it, I always got sidetracked. So here's hoping that doesn't happen the same way again, and whiny actually becomes a semi-regular part of the channel, as well as the different video series I want to get back into, because I do want to get back into doing the cross zone. I can get a few of those out and then I stop. Or doing my podcast, I can get a few of them out and then I stop. So I've got to, and this is something I've talked with my therapist about, I've got to find a way to schedule everything that I'm trying to do. I've got to find a way to plan out the stuff I'm trying to do and plan it around my personal life and social life like that, because I can't be on here 24/7, obviously. That wouldn't be healthy for me, that wouldn't be healthy for my family. But I do have to find a way to work this out where I can do the things I'd like to do, as well as still have a life outside of being on here. And I'm not trying to have my. I realized when I got into doing this, and it was one of the only outlets that I had for my creativity for a long time, whether it was just talking it out or whatever. I got so focused on it, so stuck in it, that I let other things in my life fall to the wayside. It wasn't a constant thing, but it was a thing where I focused too much on it sometimes. And now I'm trying to find a balance for that, and that's why you've seen, if anybody has followed my channel for a long period of time, you've seen that I will disappear for 2-3 months at a time sometimes, and then come back. Usually it happens because I meant to take a small break, then the small break rolls into a bigger break, and then it becomes a struggle to get back into the rhythm. And when that happens, I find myself fighting myself, like, oh, I can do this to get back into this, or there's this one thing I wanted to talk about and it's really prevalent right now, and I will let some of those moments pass by, and then I'm like, oh, well, what's the next thing I can kind of jump in back on, and all of that. So, yeah, having the ADHD thing is something I have to work around. Again, it's not like the end of the world, because obviously I've had it. I just didn't know I had it. So that means at any point, ever since I've been doing this channel, I have had ADHD. Well, before now, I've had ADHD. It's been something I've had all my life. I've just got a late diagnosis. And when I was younger, it seemed to be helpful because I was able to put all the energy into so many things, and I was a top level student in school, and I was able to do so much. And then get out of school, and life kicks you, and that became it. And yeah, it didn't kick me hard at first, but it kicked me hard later on. And I think part of this played into that, because I didn't know about my own condition. I didn't know how to sort things out. I didn't know how to deal with stuff. And now that I have some clear-cut answers, it makes it a little bit easier. It's something I can work around because I know how I process things. I know how I can organize myself, and I know I have a support system now in place that will allow me to do many things that I wished to do before. So that's my main focus right now, is trying to find some way to draw upon all of the talents I have and utilize them. And that's going to be on here. That's going to be in my books. That's going to be on a couple other things I'm working on. But I don't want to drag this out too much longer. It's just one of those things where it's like I wanted to talk about it, and it's been itching at me ever since I got the diagnosis to just do a discussion video on it. But so much other stuff was going on. I was like, I don't want to fall behind too much on everything, and so much stuff was rapidly happening. I was like, yeah, I'll focus on these things for now, and when I see a free moment, I will go ahead and do the discussion I've been thinking about and put this out there for everybody. Again, there's probably some people that have been watching my channel for a while. I'm like, yeah, he's got ADHD, or they at the very least it was like, yeah, he's not like everyone else. He's got somebody had to have figured it out. But either way, it's not like it's the worst thing in the world. Like this just means my brain processes differently. It doesn't mean I can't do something. It means I have to think of a different way to do it. And that's the ultimate beauty in it. I can do things differently than other people. I can see things differently than other people. And that allows me to see outcomes that sometimes others can't see. So that I think that works out. Yeah, maybe I miss some things that other people pick up on very much more easily than I do. But at the same time, I can figure out things that other people wouldn't readily think of because my brain processes disparate things together, and then I find the connections. So, yeah, it's fun. But we'll see where it goes. This is going to be a continued journey going forward. And there's so many times I thought about giving up on doing my YouTube channel and my other stuff. And I'm not giving it up. I'm going to keep it going until there is a day where I finally do decide it's time to hang it up. Right now is not that time for me. I still enjoy doing this. I still like giving my thoughts and ideas on things. I still like getting the feedback. So that's what I'm going to do going forward. Again, I just really wanted to do this so that everyone that follows me knew. It was really more about just talking about it. Again, I have that video on my channel, the way how the brain of the game idea guy works, which lays it all out in the same manner. But it was just because someone asked me that question, and I was like, yeah, I process things differently. But happy to know that I actually have an actual answer as to why I am how I am. So we're going to go ahead and cut it here. Thank you everybody that got to this point. Thank you for listening, and yeah, we'll see where the gig goes next. Who knows, future might change things up a little bit. But it's always appreciated that you guys are there for it, and we'll be around for when more stuff comes from me. So, peace out, folks.